Alrighty, so it's time to do the review of the 3 games that happened today in terms of the midweek action. But before we get to that, I just want to quickly congratulate the Seattle Sounders moving on to the League Cup final after they were able to win 1-0 against Santos Laguna. And just for record, I actually did not watch the full match. I only watched the second half of the match because I had to work until 8 o'clock, and by the time I got off work, it was just the beginning of the second half. But definitely looked like the game was going to go to a PK shootout, which definitely would not have favored the Sounders because they tend to not have a good record in a PK shootout, especially in an international tournament. But thankfully, the game did not go to a PK shootout, courtesy of Raul Ruidiaz, who, time after time this season, he has scored some big goals to give the Sounders the win, and he did it again in that one, getting a big goal in stoppage time to able to give the Sounders the winner and move on into the League Cup's final, which, like I said, they're going to be playing either Lyon or Pumas in the League Cup's final in Vegas in just a couple of weeks. And, I might actually think about doing the review of the League Cup's final, depending on my mood of whether or not if I want to do so. And also, taking a look at whether or not if we have a lot of games that is also going to be taking place that day, because, I still don't rate the League Cups. I only rate the League Cups until they do have the format where whoever wins the League Cup will earn a berth to the CONCACAF Champions League in the next campaign. But that being said, let us actually get into these midweek action that happened on Tuesday, and we start off with the first game between Inter Miami versus TFC. And for Miami, they're above the red line for the first time this season, and there was no doubt that this was not an easy game for Miami. And even though they were up a man for the last 55 minutes of this game, Toronto had a big opportunity to win this game, and you could argue they should have won this game because they had tons of chances in the second half to get that crucial opening goal, only for them to concede a penalty late in the game and basically lost the game right at the death. But in the first half, I thought TFC were by far the better team, and they were on the front foot. And TFC thought that they got themselves a penalty in the 14th minute, as they looked like it was Gregorio that brought down Larea. First of all, they did also go to VAR to check to see if that is the case. But then later, it turns out that what they were checking wasn't actually the foul that Gregorio basically put on Larea, but whether or not if there was an offside that happened before the foul happened. Unfortunately, if you're an Inter Miami fan, your team was kind of left off the hook, but because VAR deemed that there was an offside before the foul, and therefore no penalty was given to TFC. Now, just 2 minutes later, Miami almost capitalized on being left off the hook thanks to VAR, as Morgan missed wide from 17 yards out, and you think that's a chance that he would definitely they want to have that one back, because he had a big opportunity to get the opening goal and in a good position there. But Soteldo then drives one from long range that goes wide in the 19th minute before Vasilev puts one high from long range in the 24th minute. And then in the 36th minute, red card was given to Kamar Lawrence after he basically brought down, I think it was Robinson, the one that was going through on goal, and basically Kamar Lawrence, he basically had to bring him down, because if he didn't bring him down, Robinson was through on goal. It could be 1-0 in favor of Miami, but because of the fact that he was the last man through, it's a denial of goal score opportunity, an automatic red card, and TFC was down to 10 men for the remaining of the game. And on the same sequence, Morgan tried to capitalize, being a man up straight away as he puts a curler that just goes a little bit wide from 23 yards out, before Bono denying Vasilev from close range in the 40th minute. And Miami was definitely pushing for the lead before halftime, trying to capitalize on that man advantage that they had starting in the 36th minute. But we do have to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, you would think that Miami would continue that pressure, and TFC would maybe try to bunker a little bit, trying to hold on to a 0-0 result, but the opposite actually was the case, because in the 57th minute, Larea hits it straight to Marsman after a quick counter attack from TFC, but then Marsman had to deny Schaffelberg chance in the 62nd minute, and TFC, despite the fact that they were down 10 men, they were looking more like the dangerous side, and you couldn't tell the fact that, like, if TSN actually hide the graphics of saying that Toronto was playing down to 10 men, you wouldn't know that TFC was playing down to 10 men. It looked like they were the one that was up a man, and Miami was the one that was down down to 10 men because they really was causing a lot of trouble on this Miami team, especially on the transition. There was a shout for a penalty for TFC again in the 71st minute from the TFC faithful, but unfortunately it was not a penalty because the foul happened just outside the box. Soteldo then drives a long-range effort that goes wide in the 76th minute before Carenza hits it wide, as that was really Miami's first chance of the second half, and it took them 86 minutes, or at least it took them about 41 minutes heading into the second half, despite being a man up, to basically have a chance in this game. I mean, it doesn't happen often where the team go down to 10 men would be the better team, but that was kind of the case in this game, and you kind of fancy that maybe TFC is, even with the missed opportunity they had, they were going to steal this one. Well, it looked like that was going to be the case in the 88th minute when Marsman basically commit a horror mistake where he literally just passed straight to Jacob Schaffelberg. Schaffelberg looked to trying to strike him immediately, but Marsman somehow in some way was able to just keep that one out. There was definitely a lot of shout from the TFC player thinking that one went across the line. Even the TSM broadcast, Luke Wellman, thought that one actually went over the line, and I think Steve Carver also said the same thing. But then when they look on the replay, yeah, it definitely looked like that one probably didn't cross the line, or if anything, there definitely was not definitive evidence seeing that one actually crossed over the line. And obviously, because of the fact that MLS does not have goal line technology, you basically just kind of rely on the camera angle, and the one good camera angle that they did show, it looked like that one was just off the line. And remember, the ball has to completely cross the line, and it definitely didn't look like from that one angle that it did cross the line. But nevertheless, Miami was left off the hook on that, and that was a big missed opportunity that TFC had, and that big missed opportunity would come back to haunt them, because in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, like I mentioned earlier, a penalty was given to Inter Miami. And this TFC defense that has been a big issue this season, and at times have committed some bad error in the worst time possible. And here we go again. Mavinga, who remember how Chris Mavinga was considered one of the best defender in the league a couple of years ago. Yeah, this season he has had a horror show for him, and really this entire TFC backline has just been absolutely awful this year. And he basically made a really, really clumsy challenge, chopping down McCoon in the box, and that obviously gives Miami the chance to take the lead on the penalty spot, which they were able to do. And it's McCoon, the one that actually steps up to take the penalty. I believe Higuain wasn't in this game at that point, so I think that's the reason why Gonzalo Higuain doesn't take it, because usually if there's a penalty, it's going to be Higuain the ones that takes it, or probably one of the striker for this team, like Robbie Robinson, that's going to take it. But I think up to that point, neither of those guys were in this game. So McCoon, of course, won the penalty. He was able to get a chance to take the penalty, which he was able to convert, as that, of course, was really the winning goal of this game, as in the end, Miami 1-0 win against TFC, and the shots in this one, 10 shots compared to 9 that Miami has, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that Miami has. Both team had 4 shots off target, both team had 2 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, dead even at 50%, but at the end of the day, it was Inter Miami the one with this win now move up to 6th place in the Eastern Conference. And while it's still just temporary, because depending on what DC and Montreal and Atlanta does tomorrow, we'll see whether or not if they are going to be stay above the red line before the end of the match week. But if there's one thing that you gotta also remember, Miami does have that game in hand. And let's say eventually there's going to be a time where they're going to play in a game where none of the other team around them is going to play and have that game advantage. And if they can win that game advantage, they can actually get to the spot where they are right now in the Eastern Conference, which is above the playoff line. And like I said, this has just been an incredible turnaround for this Inter Miami side. And I've said before, I got to give a lot of credit to Phil Neville and what he has done to this team, and especially the fact that I feel like for what this season Inter Miami has done compared to their inaugural season, I think the one key success of why they've been in this good run lately isn't just because of the fact that the defense has been really locked down, but they've been able to score goals in big moments. This was a team that last season, I think last year they were losing a lot of close game, and the reason why they were losing a lot of close game is that they just could not able to score goals, or could not actually in the biggest moment possible take advantage of it. But this season it's been the complete opposite. I mean, they have scored a lot. They have had a lot of big moments late in the game, but this time they're able to capitalize it, and it's no wonder why they are now above the red line. But for TFC, yeah, their season is done. Like, this is just the latest of what has been a really disappointing year for them, and they're just gonna have to move on into the next match, just kind of counting down the days before there's probably gonna be some big change that's gonna be happening with this team heading into the off season. But now moving on in terms of the next match, and to the craziest game of this season between NYCFC versus FC Dallas. And it was kind of crazy, especially in the second half, where it was literally a seesaw affair in the second half, where both teams was literally kind of like scoring every 5 minutes, and just went from a score line that was like a calm 1-1 scoreline to just 20 minutes later, all of a sudden, it was a free game between both of these teams. Now, in the first half, I forgot to mention that this game is taking place at Redbull Arena, and because of the fact that this game takes place at Redbull Arena, NYCFC is probably going to be struggling, because this season their record at Redbull Arena and their home game when they play at their intercity rival home has not been great whatsoever. And in this game it kind of proves where there were times that they were definitely not as sharp as we've seen them play home games at Yankee Stadium. And it's not a big surprise, because when you have, there's a huge difference between NYCFC playing at Yankee Stadium than it is at Red Bull Arena, because at least for NYCFC, if they play at Yankee Stadium, they have the advantage of playing on a narrow field, whereas if you play at Red Bull Arena, it's kind of a standard dimension, and not to mention the fact that you're basically kind of playing in a neutral venue, and also the fact that you don't get like the same energy and the atmosphere as NYCFC would do if they were playing at Yankee Stadium. The atmosphere of this game, I'm not gonna lie, it was one of the worst I've seen this season. It's almost felt like we were still back in COVID era with the way that it was just really quiet at Red Bull Arena. And this is not dissing on the NYCFC fans for not showing up in this game. In some way they're obviously not happy the fact that this game is playing at Red Bull Arena, and obviously their support has been expressed their frustration of the fact that they have to play home game in their biggest rivals, and especially during the middle of the week. But yeah, when you are basically playing in a neutral venue and you're basically kind of almost playing with no fans, or just kind of like a casual kind of atmosphere, it definitely does not help your chances in terms of creating that home field advantage. Because early on, 2 minutes into this game, Dallas was really up for this game. Johnson actually had to rob O'Brien, who gone through on goal in the second minute, before O'Brien did get on the score sheet, as he scored in the 4th minute to give FC Dallas a 1-0 lead. But then Talles Magno tried to equalize quickly for NYCFC, but that one hits right to Felipe, and Talles Magno kind of had a 0-0 moment in this game, and I'll talk about why that is the case. But in the 11th minute, Parks puts it high from long range, and then Maxi Morales puts it wide from 17 yards out. But there was no doubt that NYCFC, after kind of a shaky start in this game, they were definitely pressing for the equalizer and trying to put Dallas on the back foot, and they would eventually get the equalizer in the 20th minute, as Maxi Morales would score from Medina and Tajori Shradi. But yeah, in many ways, Felipe, he's got to do better in terms of it. And this is not the first time I've said that about the FC Dallas goalminer, where he's just have not been good for Dallas ever since he's between the stick. And there's no doubt that Dallas fans are desperate to hope that Jimmy Maurer can be back in goal for this team, because there's been time that Felipe has, I have seen at times Felipe has done a great job with this Dallas team and make some big save, but for every big save that he had made, he also had these moments where this shot from Max Morales was literally just hit straight to Felipe, and Felipe's got to keep that one out. And for a starting caliber goalkeeper in MLS, you would expect that one to be safe. But that being said, I don't think NYCFC would care. And I also want to give credit to Jesus Medina in terms of this goal too. This was just a lovely back heel that he puts to Maxi Morales and a chance to set up to score the goal, which eventually, of course, was put away. But again, nevertheless, that a lot of that has to of that goal was all because of the fact that Felipe clearly should have saved that one when that one was literally hit straight toward him. Now, just 14 minutes later, Magno just missed wide as he was trying to stab one in, as NYCFC no doubt had the momentum up to that point. But we do head to halftime tied at 1 apiece, and then this is where we get into the second half where, oh boy, get ready and buckle your seatbelt, because this is when things really started to get a little bit crazy. Johnson would deny Pepe from 10 yards out in the 47th minute. I mean, that was a point-blank shot from Ricardo Pepi, and usually when Ricardo Pepi gets a point-blank shot, and especially of how hot Ricardo Pepi has been, I mean, that is a great save from Sean Johnson, and you definitely did not expect that one to not end up in the back of the net. But then 2 minutes later, on the other end, Felipe was able to deny Talles Magno, who, again, he had a 0-0 moment. But overall, he actually had a very decent game in this one. Before Acevedo blast one just high from 19 yards out. I mean, that was an absolute rocket shot from Acevedo, but it just went a little bit too high off the post. But then 5 minutes later, NYCFC would take the lead for the first time. And it's Medina, the one that was able to get on the score sheet to give NYCFC a 2-1 lead. But then 5 minutes later, the game was all tied up again because Jesus Ferreira would score from Ricardo Pepi to tie the game up at 2 apiece. Only for 5 minutes later, NYCFC would retake the lead as Talles Magno would score from Forensen to give NYCFC a 3-2 lead. That's also the first career goal for Talles Magno. So congratulations to the young man there getting his first ever MLS goal. But unfortunately, that celebration would not last long because, like I said, it was just basically a back and forth affair in the second half. And then just 5 minutes after NYCFC took the lead for the second time, Dallas tied it for the second time tonight, as Orion would score from Riccardi to tie the game up at 3 apiece. And yeah, I mean, it was just like you would not be wrong if this game would have potentially ended 5-5 or even 6-6, because it just looked like every time when both of these teams attacked, the ball was going to go into the back of the net. And also, it's a very telling story, the fact that, yeah, the defense in this game, and especially during that stretch, was basically non-existent. Like, it was literally like a FIFA Ultimate Team kind of match, the way that second half go, where every time a team goes on the attack, they basically score. But just 6 minutes later, it looked like that theme continued as Magno looked to try to score his second goal and try to restore the NYCFC lead, but he just could not quite get enough contact to slot that past Felipe. There was a great moment in the 81st minute, seeing Aber making his NYCFC return for the first time in a year. Obviously, Aber, unfortunately, last year suffered a torn ACL, and it's definitely great to see him making his return, and certainly something that I think NYCFC fans have been looking for a very long time. Now, 3 minutes later, Majuma did try to score his first ever goal for FC Dallas, but he puts it just high from long range. Before, on the very next sequence on the corner, Matt Hedges almost scored on the header, but just could not quite stare that one in. And then in the second minute of stoppage time, yeah, this is... actually, you know how I said earlier that Talles Magno kind of went from 0 to 0? I take that back. Actually, I thought Magno was the one that got sent off in the second minute of stoppage time, but instead, it's actually Thiago. So, just all the time that I said that Talles Magno kind of had a 0 to 0 moment, I would just say that he more had like a hero kind of moment, and that this was definitely a great game for him, but not so for Thiago Adrande there. I mean, yeah, this was just a studs-up challenge on Ferreira. Originally, he did get a yellow card on that, but when you look on the replay, yeah, that was probably going to change it to red. And, as soon as it goes to VAR, I knew that was going to be a red card, because you just cannot put your studs up that high on your opponent. And if you do that, and especially if they go to VAR to check that, yeah, it's most of the time it's going to be automatically changed to a red card, and this was not. This was one of those incidents that it was the case. But the good news for NYCFC is that at least that happened in the second minute of stoppage time, and it was really not much time for Dallas to capitalize from being a man up. But in the end, it finished 3-3 between both of these teams as the shots in this one. 15 shots for the 11 that Dallas had. Both teams had 6 shots on goal. 5 shots off target for the 3 that Dallas had. 4 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Dallas had. And possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that FC Dallas has in this game. And overall, I think Dallas is no doubt going to be the more happier side. I mean, yes, they had a chance to maybe get a surprising win against NYCFC. But they will definitely take it, knowing the fact that, on a short week, flying to the East Coast, and you're able to get a point, and that's something that this is a team that doesn't do very often on the road. They'll definitely take the point. Whereas for NYCFC, this has to be a very frustrating resort, especially with the way that, they just could not, they did a good job in terms of coming back, but, there was just so many opportunities for them to, of course, win the game, and also unable to hold on to the leads more than 5 minutes was the reason why they had to settle for a draw in this game, and also their nightmare of them playing at Redbull Arena, which as mentioned this season they have really struggled playing at Redbull Arena, and continue in this one. But now moving on into the last game on this board. Now before I talk about this game, and you notice how there was actually not a lot of notes on this game, well, there's a reason for that. So I was actually waiting and hoping that eventually the condensed version of this game is going to release. It turns out that was not the case. And then I was waiting, maybe I can just go to YouTube and go to the MLS YouTube channel to watch the 7.5 minute kind of highlight. Well, guess what? They didn't release that highlight too. So literally my last option in terms of actually seeing what happened in this game was the 4 minutes highlight. And I swear I never like to watch the 4 minutes highlight, because the 4 minutes highlight basically doesn't tell anything. Usually it only tells maybe some decent chances, and then of course the goals, of course, that was scored in the game, and that was pretty much it. And it really doesn't tell you the fact that, at least when I look on the stat chart, and usually I don't want to just say looking at the stat chart tells the story, because we've seen where sometimes in games when the stats of course shows it basically shows kind of like the opposite thing of how the game turns out. But at least when you look at the stats, it looked like Columbus had a lot of opportunity, and in the end they were able to even they were able to basically took advantage of it and getting all 3 points. But when you look at also the goal scoring, and when did Columbus able to come from behind to get a 2-1 win, it just shows you that maybe they were definitely fighting hard to try to get themselves not only an equalizer, but also win this game at the very last minute. Now, in the 9th minute, Room did deny Kamala after just a bad turnover from the Crew. I mean, this is not the first time we've seen this happen from this Crew back line that has really regressed this year and has looked nothing as steady as what we saw last season in the MLS Cup run. But eventually, Kamala would get on the score sheet as he would score from Yearwood to give the Redbulls a 1-0 lead. There was a mishit volley from Zaire Rian that was punched away by Cornell in the 5th minute of stoppage time, but we do head to halftime with the Redbulls getting a 1-0 lead. Now, in the 64th minute, it was almost 2-0 in favor of the Redbulls after Kamala put a one-hopper that was right to Eloy Rome. But then in the 74th minute, it seems like Columbus was really trying to get the equalizer, and they eventually did find it. And it's Nagbe, the one that is able to get the equalizer for Columbus, as once again he scored against the Redbulls, just like not the last time they meet, because the last time they meet the Redbulls shut out the Crew, but I think it was also the previous meeting that Darlington Nagbe, of course, were able to score against the Redbulls. And it just seems like he loves to score against the Redbulls, and even doing, I think, his days with Atlanta, where he just seems to love to score against the Redbulls whenever Atlanta, of course, play against the Redbulls. But in the latter stage of this game, just as we thought that maybe this game was going to remain tied at 1 apiece, it's Miguel Berry, who has started to really become one of just a guy that just kind of came out of nowhere to be a star player from this Crew team. Well, he scored another crucial goal here to make it 2-1 in favor of the Columbus Crew. Like, seriously, at the beginning of the season, when we look at how many depth that this team has, who would have thought that Miguel Berry was a name that a lot of people have heard? Like, you would hear a lot of people from the depth chart, but I don't think Miguel Berry really fits into that category. But it also just shows you how much Columbus has really been decimated by injury this year. And that being said, you know, what a season he's been having, and just a guy that, you know, in the beginning of the season, I don't think anybody would have known his name and did not expect of how big of an impact he would make for this Crew team. Because, as I said, he of course would end up scoring the winning goal of this game, and the Crew were able to get a crucial 2-1 win against the Redbulls. As the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 9 that the Redbulls had, 6 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Redbulls had, 7 shots off target compared to 5 that the Redbulls had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Redbulls had, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that the Redbulls has in this game. And, you know, this is a big win for Columbus, because this does give them just a slight foothold back into the Eastern Conference playoff race. But now they're going to have to pray tomorrow that, you know, they already know that Miami, of course, won their game, but they're going to hope that Atlanta, Montreal, and also DC would actually lose their game tomorrow. And if all 3 of those teams lose their game and they do get some help, then yeah, they could definitely get themselves back into this playoff race. But speaking of the playoff race, yeah, the Red Bulls, they're pretty much look like they're going to be out of it. And yeah, you know, the streak is probably going to end this year, where, you know, they have been in the playoffs, I think now for 10 consecutive season or 11 consecutive season. But yeah, it looks like this year is finally the year that the Red Bulls could potentially miss the playoffs for the very first time. And it's not a big surprise, consider this team looked like it was already started to head into this bit of a rebuild. And also the fact that when you look at this academy not really pumping out a lot of more talented batch of player from their academy like the last generation, it's not a big surprise that the Red Bulls is not doing as well as they were in previous years. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for my quick review of these 3 games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all 3 of these games? And of course, I am now going to do quickly, of course, finish this video and then basically upload this video onto my channel, because, and actually after when I finish this recording, I'm going to quickly start working on putting the notes for the preview in terms of the 8 games that's going to be happening tomorrow, because again, I have to do the preview tonight, even though it's started to get a little bit late in the evening and I do have to go to work tomorrow at 10 in the morning. But again, I need to do the preview for the 8 games that's going to be happening tomorrow, because if I don't do it today, I probably will have no chance. Well, not probably, but I definitely will not have any chance of doing the preview of the 8 games, because tomorrow I'll be pretty much working all day. And also after when I finish my shift, I of course will be attending that game between the Quakes and RSL in the evening. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you do, make sure you guys do like, smash that subscribe button, and like I said, let me know in the comments below what do you think of all 3 of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.